So Rogan, who I just want to say for the record, I really love and I revere as a pioneer in media, really more than, Roger Ailes level kind of changed everything.
Yeah.
So I just always want to say that because I really believe it. But he seemed to endorse Bobby Kennedy. Then he comes out and says, no, I just like Bobby Kennedy. I like Bobby Kennedy too, for the record. He's a nice man. But I was not endorsing him, Rogan said, and I don't really like talking about politics that much. I'm summarizing. But if you want to know like what I think, just listen to Dave. That was kind of funny and cool that he said that. But give us your assessment of Bobby Kennedy. Like what role does he play in this race, if any?
Oh, by the way, so when Rogan tweeted that, and it's just, I couldn't even look on my phone for like hours after that because it's just like, and he texted me. It was one of the funniest texts I've ever gotten. Rogan texted me and he goes, oh, I didn't even realize that I stirred up a whole riot on Twitter, but I sent all the looters to your house.
Oh, that's pretty good.
I was like, yeah, that is really what, but I was like, I'll take them. I love this.
I like the looters.
But also the moment really is, it's because Joe is such a like, he I know him pretty well. We're like pretty good friends at this point. And he is exactly what you see.
Yeah.
Like that's him.
I've noticed.
Everybody who, if you watch the show, you already know who he is. So it's like, he doesn't even think like, I'm going to be making an endorsement today on my show about which candidate I want to throw my people's support behind. He literally someone asked him a question and he was just having a moment. Like he was just like, I do like this Bobby Kennedy guy. He seems kind of like he's read books about stuff and he wants to discuss ideas and not just like personal attacks. And I really like that.
I agree with that.
And I tend to agree with that too. I also just, by the way, I was just so furious at Trump supporters who were like giving Rogan shit for that. And then I just thought it was maybe the stupidest thing Trump's done in the campaign so far was that he posted on Truth Social attacking Joe Rogan for it. And it's like, man, is anyone around him to just be like, no, you don't go to war with Joe Rogan.
No, that's the teachers union. You should be
right.
Like, what?
But it's also like, even whether he's supporting you or not, that's your teachers union. He's again, like I said before, it's not left versus right. It's dissident versus the regime. And this is the guy who cracked the corporate media. He's the guy who cracked state's monopoly on information.
That is true.
So come on, what are you doing here? And he said also, it's just so removed. And it's really just the flaw in Trump is that he said, it'll be interesting to see how much Joe Rogan gets booed at the next UFC event. And you're like, do you really think Joe Rogan's going to get booed at okay. All right. I know that Donald Trump, I know how your mind works, and there's great things about it, and then there's things that hold you back. But I know that you think that since they love you at the UFC event, they're your people, and they'll hate anybody who's not supporting you. But actually, they really love Joe Rogan, and they're not going to be booing him. And it was just so stupid to fight this fight with him. Anyway, to the Bobby Kennedy stuff, when he first started running, and I had him on my show. And I was just like, I just loved the guy. And I thought, his positions on Ukraine and on the vaccine, I thought were heroic. And it was amazing. What was so amazing about his campaign was that he was running as a Democrat and he's Bobby Kennedy.
Yeah.
Like his name is Bobby Kennedy. And he's not like some, peripheral Kennedy who's like he's Bobby Kennedy's son. He's Jack Kennedy's nephew. And here he is giving Democrats this. It reminded me a lot of the Ron Paul presidential campaigns, where because Ron Paul was such a conservative person, and because right after his name there was R, Texas, and he could be against the wars, it was like he gave permission.
Exactly.
For you. You're allowed to be against the wars. You could oppose the wars, and you don't have to give up your whole identity. You don't have to be Michael Moore in order to be against this war. No, that's exactly right. You could be a real American patriot and oppose these wars. And in a similar fashion, I felt like Bobby Kennedy was giving Democrats permission to abandon these, which were, look, I mean, if you think about it, I said just a second ago that the vaccine was Joe Biden's first, were all in on the vaccine. And then his second big thing was all in on the war in Ukraine. This is the Biden administration. So he's this total repudiation of Joe Biden, but being like the true Democrat, what we're really supposed to be, you know?
Yes.
And so there was something amazing about his campaign. You know, I understand why he made the move to go independent, because there's not a real democratic process in the Democratic Party.
Nor is there much of a constituency at this point for that message.
Yes, that's probably true.
Yeah.
I do think that, and you know, me and him, he came back on my podcast to his credit, and we argued about this. I do think it's strained our relationship a little bit, but I could get past not being good on Israel from my perspective, of course, and I could get past. I could probably tolerate all the way up to like Vivek Ramaswamy's position on Israel, which essentially was he was like taking the non-interventionist position, but doing it in a way where it's like, I am not picking a fight with AIPAC. You know what I mean? Like he was like, I think his answer at the debate was something he said, he goes, I'll tell Netanyahu that I'm going to kill the terrorists on our southern border and you go kill the terrorists on your southern border. So I was kind of like, I'm not funding your war, but like totally support you doing what you're doing. That's not how I feel about the situation at all. I think it's really horrible what Israel's doing, and it's inexcusable. But I mean, going around with Rabbi Shmuley as your campaign advisor, I just like, to me, once I saw that, I was like, I just can't. It's too much for me. So, and I do think, again, kind of like I'm saying with Donald Trump, I mean, he just pocket aces. You don't want to play these pocket aces. Okay. I mean, Democrats, like 70% of Democrats oppose this war and want a ceasefire. I think 50% of them consider it a genocide. On the Republican side, obviously, there's a lot of America First people who could be persuaded that we shouldn't be involved in these conflicts. I think Bobby Kennedy had a real chance to make, like, if he was non-interventionist on this war, I think he would have made some huge waves, and I think that really hurt him. He lost a bunch of people on his campaign staff because he was the anti-war guy. Had a whole bunch of young anti-war people who were like, oh no, I'm not going to be a part of this now.
So where does that leave him now? As a political matter, it feels like there is a significant chunk of people, I don't know how many, in the millions though, support Bobby Kennedy, clearly repudiate the priorities of the Biden-Harris administration, don't want to vote for Trump. I mean, my sense is he's taking potential Trump voters.
Yeah, that might be the case. You know, I'm not sure exactly, and I don't know. I mean, if Donald Trump, like, you know, if he were to drop out of the race and endorse Donald Trump, I think there's a very good chance he could end up in his cabinet and get some type of position out of it if Trump were to win.
For sure.
I don't know if that's going to happen if he stays in the race the whole time, because I think it will be seen as like, well, no, I mean, you can't, you know.
Diminishing returns, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, you just can't do that and then expect the guy to give you a position.
Do you think if Bobby Kennedy endorsed Trump, which is possible, I would say, it is possible, do you think that would push Trump over the line? Would that meaningfully help? Most endorsements that make a difference?
It might. I don't know. You know, it's hard to tell what endorsement. You know, like, do endorsements actually do anything? It's not. You know, it's just in general in life. It's not like, you know, you see like Obama and Donald Trump, who were two of the most successful political figures in the last, the most successful political figures in the last, you know, 15 years or so, and it's not as if their endorsements seem to carry that much weight. No. It's not it's not transferable like that in the same sense that, like, you know, like, I love your show. You were the only guy on cable news who I always watched, and I love watching your show on your new network. And if you were like, hey, you got to check out this guy, someone else, so you got to check out their show, that would certainly get me to check it out. But it's not as if that's a guarantee that I'm going to like love it. I'll check it out, and if I like it, then I'll keep watching it. It's just, you can't just transfer the thing that people like about you onto other people.
I've never said a bad word about Rogan. I genuinely like him as a person. I think his show like made such a massive difference in the media landscape and in American history. I'm not taking ayahuasca.
Right.
Do you know what I
right,
mean?
yeah,
It's like nothing. I love Rogan. I'm not taking ayahuasca.
It's like it just doesn't work that way. And so I do wonder, I really don't know the answer, but like, is it Bobby Kennedy, if he were to drop out and endorse Trump at this point, don't people kind of already know they had the option to support Donald Trump?
Yeah.
And if they're still not supporting Donald Trump,
it's fair.
There's probably a meaningful reason why.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. We hope you'll subscribe to it. And by the way, you can hit the little bell on there and get notifications every time we produce a video. We hope you'll do that also.